All right, let's dive into the beginning of Exodus.
Yeah.
Specifically chapter 2, like you asked, the birth and early life of Moses.
It's a great place to start, It sets the stage for everything that follows.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we'll uncover some interesting things along the way.
I think so, too. There's a lot packed into these opening verses.
Right. So we start with this life or death situation, right? Pharaoh has just decreed that all the Hebrew baby boys must be killed.
Oh, yeah. It's brutal.
Yeah, brutal. Can you imagine the fear and desperation of these Israelite families?
Absolutely. I mean, it was a very calculated attempt to control the Hebrew population, right? They were seen as a threat by the Egyptians.
Yeah, exactly. And it's into this chaos that Moses is born.
Right.
His mother hides him for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually she has to make this impossible choice.
Yeah.
She puts him in a basket and sets him adrift on the Nile River.
It's heartbreaking, when you think about it, but it also speaks to the incredible faith and resourcefulness of these women.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're not just passively accepting their fate.
Right.
They're actively fighting for their children's survival.
And that's where it gets really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Because the Nile wasn't just any river to the Egyptians.
Right.
It was like the lifeblood of their civilization, a source of life and fertility.
Right. Absolutely.
So Moses being drawn from these waters, it's almost like a symbolic foreshadowing of his destiny, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this imagery connects to this broader theme of rebirth that runs throughout the Exodus story.
Rebirth.
Yeah, Moses will ultimately be the one to lead his people out of slavery and into a new life.
Right, a kind of national rebirth.
Exactly.
But there's also this incredible irony.
Yeah.
The very act meant to hide Moses, placing him in the Nile.
Right.
Is what leads him directly to Pharaoh's daughter.
It's like fate. Or maybe, divine providence is at work here.
Yeah, and let's not forget the brilliant move by Moses' sister, Miriam.
Oh, yeah, Miriam.
She doesn't just stand by and watch.
Right.
She sees an opportunity.
Yeah.
And she seizes it.
Mm-hmm.
Ensuring her brother's survival, and even arranging for their mother to be paid to nurse him.
It's amazing.
Talk about, quick thinking under pressure.
Seriously.
So Moses grows up in the lap of luxury, as an Egyptian prince.
Yeah.
But he doesn't forget his Hebrew roots.
Right.
One day, he sees an Egyptian overseer beating a Hebrew slave. And he snaps.
It's a pivotal moment for Moses,
Yeah.
It reveals a deep sense of empathy and justice that transcends his privileged upbringing.
For sure. He kills the Egyptian and hides the body, thinking he's gotten away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But then, the next day, he tries to break up a fight between two Hebrews.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, hey, what about that Egyptian you killed?
Oh, no.
It's like, whoa, right. What a stark reminder that actions have consequences.
Absolutely. And you could almost feel the fear creeping in as Moses realizes, his secret is out. He flees Egypt, leaving behind everything he's ever known.
So now he's in Midian.
Right.
This, foreign land seeking refuge.
Mm.
And it's at a well that he encounters the priest's daughters.
Okay.
They're being harassed by some shepherds. And what does Moses do?
I'm listening.
He steps in, defends them, and even waters their flock.
Like a classic hero moment.
Right. Straight out of a storybook.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's more than just, a heroic act.
Yeah.
It foreshadows his future role as a leader.
Right.
Someone who will fight for the vulnerable and stand against injustice.
Totally. This act of kindness earns him a place in the priest's household.
Mm-hmm.
He marries one of the daughters, Zipporah.
Okay.
And they have a son, Gershom. And, Gershom means resident foreigner, which is pretty fitting, right? Given Moses' situation.
It's incredibly symbolic, It speaks to these themes of displacement and identity that run throughout the Exodus story.
Right. Moses is caught between two worlds, belonging fully to neither.
Right.
But even as he's, building this new life in Midian back in Egypt, things are going from bad to worse for the Israelites.
Yeah.
Years pass.
Mm-hmm.
The Pharaoh who sought to kill Moses dies.
Right.
But the suffering continues.
Oh, wow.
The Israelites are crying out in despair, their cries reaching the heavens.
Mm.
And this is where things take a significant turn.
How so?
Because God hears their groaning.
It's crucial,
Yeah.
God isn't just some distant deity. He's intimately involved in the lives of his people.
He sees their suffering.
Right.
And remembers his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
And that remembrance isn't just sentimental.
Yeah.
It signals that action is coming.
Yeah, and we're left with this this cliffhanger, this sense of anticipation.
Right.
We know God is aware of the Israelites' plight, but how will he act?
Well, that is the question that propels us into the next chapter.
To the burning bush.
Exactly. Which brings us to the burning bush.
Oh, yeah, definitely iconic.
One of the most iconic scenes in the Bible.
So Moses, he's out tending his flock, just another day. And suddenly he sees this bush engulfed in flames.
Yeah.
But it's not burning up. I mean, come on, what would you think?
It's arresting, right? I mean, it immediately captures your attention.
Oh, yeah.
There's this sense of awe and fear.
Right.
The unknown, potentially dangerous.
But Moses, drawn by curiosity, he steps closer.
Of course.
And then a voice comes from the fire.
Right.
And it identifies itself as the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. That's got to send chills down your spine.
Oh, for sure. It's a direct encounter with the divine. Linking back to the covenant, the promises made to the patriarchs generations ago.
And Moses, recognizing the holiness of the moment, he hides his face.
A gesture of reverence and fear.
Yeah, but I find it interesting.
What's that?
That God doesn't immediately jump into the, the rescue mission.
Right.
He first focuses on the place where Moses is standing. His take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground.
Okay. Yeah.
What's the significance of that?
I think it underscores the sanctity of the encounter, Yeah. Like, you're not just chatting with your neighbor here.
Right.
You're standing in the presence of the Almighty.
Right.
It requires humility.
For sure.
A recognition of something greater than yourself.
Then comes the big reveal, the mission statement.
Oh,
God says, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey.
Powerful stuff.
Wow, right.
It's a declaration of God's intentions.
Yeah.
He's not just aware of their suffering, he's actively intervening to deliver them.
And the promised land.
Right.
That represents hope.
Yeah.
A future filled with abundance and freedom.
Exactly.
So who does God choose to lead this, monumental task?
Well, that's the best part.
The very man who fled Egypt as a fugitive.
Yeah, what a twist.
Right. Talk about a twist of fate.
It's brilliant, from a narrative perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, Moses, the once privileged prince,
right,
now a shepherd in exile, is called back to confront the very power structure he escaped.
But is he ready to just jump right in?
Well,
not exactly.
No.
He throws out all these objections.
Like what?
He's like, who am I to do this? What if they don't believe me? I'm not a good speaker.
He's trying to talk God out of it.
Yeah, it's almost relatable, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we've all felt inadequate at times.
For sure.
And God, he doesn't, scold Moses for his lack of faith.
Right.
He provides solutions.
He does.
To the who am I question.
Yeah.
God reassures him, I will be with you.
A simple but profound promise.
Yeah, and then there's the issue of credibility.
Okay.
Moses worries that the Israelites won't believe he's been talking to God.
Mm-hmm.
So God gives him signs. 3 miraculous signs to prove his mission.
Okay, I like it.
First, the staff turning into a snake.
Whoa!
And then back into a staff.
That's pretty dramatic.
Right.
It's a visual demonstration of God's power over nature.
Yeah.
The ability to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary.
Then there's the sign of Moses' hand turning leprous and then being healed.
Leprosy.
Now, leprosy in the Bible, it wasn't just a physical ailment.
Right.
It carried symbolic meaning.
Absolutely. Leprosy often represented spiritual impurity, separation from God.
So this sign suggests that God can both afflict and heal.
A powerful reminder of his sovereignty.
And the third sign, turning the Nile water into blood. That seems like a preview of the plagues to come.
Yeah, it's a symbolic warning, a foreshadowing of the consequences.
Of defying God.
Exactly.
So we have these 3 incredible signs.
Right.
But Moses still isn't convinced.
Oh, no.
He claims he's not a good speaker.
I know that feeling.
And God, he doesn't get mad.
No.
He offers a solution. Aaron, Moses' brother, will be his spokesperson.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a powerful reminder, I think, that leadership isn't about being perfect.
It's about teamwork.
Yeah, it's about recognizing your strengths and weaknesses and being willing to collaborate.
And so, with Aaron by his side, staff in hand, and God's assurance, Moses returns to Egypt, ready to face Pharaoh and demand the release of his people.
You know, what I find really striking about this whole burning bush encounter
Yeah.
is how patient God is with Moses.
Right.
He doesn't force him.
No.
He doesn't overpower him.
He guides him.
Yeah, gently guides him, addresses his fears, and equips him for the task ahead.
It's a lesson in leadership and discipleship.
For sure. And it speaks to us even today.
Absolutely. It's about building trust, empowering others, and recognizing that even the most reluctant leader can be transformed when given the right support and guidance.
Okay, so now we've got Moses back in Egypt,
Right. With Aaron, staff in hand.
ready to confront Pharaoh.
Yeah.
You'd think after all those years, Pharaoh might have softened his stance on the Israelites, right?
You'd think.
But no.
No.
What happens when they demand he let the people go?
Well, Pharaoh basically laughs in their faces.
Oh, wow.
He refuses to release the Israelites
Yeah.
and even makes their lives harder.
A power move.
Oh, yeah, totally. A way of asserting his dominance,
Yeah.
showing he won't be swayed by some, upstart prophet.
So it's this classic clash of wills, right?
Absolutely.
The mighty king of Egypt versus the shepherd turned prophet.
But Moses has something Pharaoh doesn't.
What's that?
The backing of the one true God.
Right, and that's where the plagues come in.
Exactly.
Each one a demonstration of God's power over nature.
Mm-hmm.
A direct challenge to Pharaoh's authority.
And the Egyptian gods he represents.
Okay, so let's break down these plagues.
Right.
It starts with the Nile turning to blood.
Right.
Now, this wasn't just some random act of chaos.
No, not at all.
The Nile was the source of life for Egypt,
It was sacred to them.
worshipped as a god itself.
Turning their sacred river into blood, that was a direct attack on their religious beliefs.
Right.
And a stark illustration that their gods were powerless against the God of Israel.
And then come the frogs,
With frogs.
the gnats, the flies.
Ugh, it's like this cascade of increasingly disturbing events.
Yeah.
Each one disrupting their daily lives.
Chipping away at their sense of order and control.
Remember, the Egyptians, they saw themselves as masters of nature.
Right.
Their society was built on a belief in order and stability.
Right.
The plagues turned that worldview upside down,
Yeah.
unleashing chaos, disrupting the very foundations of their society.
So you'd think with each plague, Pharaoh would relent. Right.
You would.
But his heart, it hardens even more.
It's a psychological battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
This struggle between pride and the undeniable evidence of a power greater than his own.
And it's almost like Shakespearean.
Yeah.
This tragic downfall of a ruler blinded by his own hubris,
He refuses to acknowledge the truth.
even as his kingdom crumbles around him.
Exactly.
And finally, we come to the most devastating plague.
The death of the firstborn.
Imagine the horror, the grief that swept through Egypt that night.
It's a stark reminder of the consequences of defying God's will.
This final plague, it's also the catalyst for the institution of Passover.
Right. God instructs the Israelites to sacrifice a lamb
Mm-hmm.
and mark their doorposts with its blood.
A sign for the angel of death to pass over their homes.
It's a powerful image of redemption and protection.
Yeah, and it foreshadows the sacrifice of Jesus,
The Lamb of God.
who would ultimately deliver humanity from sin and death.
And for the Israelites, Passover becomes this central part of their identity, a reminder of their liberation from slavery.
And their enduring covenant with God.
This final plague, it finally breaks Pharaoh,
He releases the Israelites,
and they leave Egypt with haste
carrying the memories of their suffering.
and the hope for a new life in the Promised Land.
Their exodus from Egypt, it's a story of perseverance and ultimately liberation.
A story that continues to resonate throughout history, inspiring hope in the face of oppression and reminding us that even in the darkest of times, God is at work, bringing about his purposes.
So we've journeyed through the depths of Exodus chapter 2, unearthing hidden meanings, symbolism, and powerful lessons.
It's been quite a deep dive.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to uncover in the book of Exodus. So we encourage you to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep digging deeper into this incredible story of God's faithfulness and the Israelites' journey to freedom.